I was called to a report of a neighbour dispute. When I got there, I spoke to a lady who claimed she'd been assaulted by a neighbour, and I ended up in a discussion with him, which became heated. And at that point, I decided it was necessary to arrest him. I managed to get one cuff on one hand. As soon as I did that, it became very violent. He got one hand on the top of my stab vest, and then one hand underneath my crotch, and then lifted me up to about his shoulder height, which he was bigger than I was anyway, and then slammed me straight onto the floor head first. I think that's what caused me to be knocked unconscious. I had a very large swelling and bruise and cut to my head, and a very severely broken collarbone, and I've got a metal plate which runs across my collarbone, which kind of pieced it all back together again. That's still in there. I had bruising which covered like my entire torso, like from the shoulder all the way down to my stomach. After that, I was off work for about 3 or 4 months, and then following that, I had a quite a lengthy period on restricted duties where I wasn't allowed out of the office whilst I recovered from my operation and from the injuries. I was, kind of unable to care for myself, and my wife had to take up a lot of things, just simple things such as feeding, cleaning, washing. They were very difficult, and I'll say my wife had to put up with a lot during that time. As a police officer, you're required to put yourself in harm's way quite often and deal with some potentially very violent people, so I think this particular incident has had a big effect on my confidence, and I find myself a lot more nervous when I attend incidents and anticipate any kind of confrontation. I think it would have been beneficial in my case to be out with someone for a while after I return to work, just to build up a bit more confidence again. Sometimes I question my motivation as to why I keep doing what I do. He got acquitted at court despite what should have been very damning evidence, and for whatever reason the jury clearly didn't think that we'd proved beyond all reasonable doubt that he'd committed the crime, so I think body-worn video would have gone some considerable way to prove exactly what happened that day. Being assaulted, it seems to become part of day-to-day business, although on this particular occasion was much worse than anything else I've ever experienced.